up, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of the Beyond the Junkyard podcast. I am Junkyard James, and this is a solo, audio-only episode of the podcast. We like to give a quick shout out to all of our affiliate partners, WWE Shop, Dubby, and StubHub. You can find the links to all of those in the description of this podcast or in the podcast notes. Some places may have them in different spots on audio formats. But anyways, in the notes or the description of the podcast, you'll be able to find the links to help support that podcast. Also go to beyondthejunkyard.com and help support us by buying the merchandise. Join the Discord and listen to all the episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube page, our social media pages, all of that. You can find that at junkyardmediagroup.com. I got a cool episode for you today. So, long story short, this is being recorded about noon on Wednesday the 22nd. We will have our live stream tomorrow, but I wanted to record this episode as a special episode simply because today I took the day off of my day job to go to the DMV to upgrade my license from what I have to what is called a real ID. I have a couple flights that I'm going to take in April, and they're instituting that real ID is required. So my plan was to take the day off and spend my day basically at the DMV getting all of that stuff taken care of. Well, here in North Carolina, if you get a dusting of snow, which we did last night, they shut everything down. And so this morning I drive to go to my appointment, and there's nobody in the parking lot. The DMV is closed, and closed all day. The roads are fine. The South needs, they just need to understand that you can still drive on snowy, with a little bit of snow on the roads. Everything was cool. But I'll have to figure out another time to do that. But gives me an opportunity here to do this podcast. And what I want it to do is go through the AEW roster page, the official roster page on their website, and just go through, and because we've heard complaints from several wrestlers that we've heard rumors that now there are certain wrestlers who would be more comfortable leaving AEW and making the jump to a place like WWE after the, if you want to say, successful debut of Penta into AEW or into WWE. And so my thought was, let's go through this roster page. AEW has and I've said this for quite a while, they've had a bloated roster. And it's time, I think, to do 2 or 3 things. Number one, cut the roster in size. There's too many people and not enough time, especially with the loss of Dark and Dark Elevation, and now Rampage is gone. You've lost several opportunities to showcase other talent. There's no need for a very large roster. And so that's the first thing, is just cut the roster, trim the fat. And what criteria would I determine this? It's kind of where I went with this, is, are you dedicated to AEW? Are you willing to put in the work to get yourself over, to take the booking that you have and do it to the best of your ability? Or are you going to be the one that sits there and complain about not having opportunities? If you're just going to complain about lack of opportunities without trying to make an opportunity for yourself, there's a good chance I would cut you, or let your contract expire. I wouldn't say cut. but let the contract expire and not use you in any further programming. The second thing I would want to do is, for the most part, I looked to confirm this. There's very few wrestlers in Ring of Honor that are not on AEW's roster page. There's a few like Athena. Oh, I'm sorry, not Athena. Excuse me. There's a few like Billy Starks and Trish Adora and Shane Taylor who are Ring of Honor exclusive at this point. They're not on AEW's roster page. That I would say they can. I'm not going to dive into those people because they're needed in Ring of Honor, but I would like to make it to where the people that are on AEW's roster page are defined between, are they AEW or are they Ring of Honor? I think we have so many AEW wrestlers who spend the majority of their time in AEW who make one or two appearances in Ring of Honor, and we could take some of these lower tiered AEW wrestlers, move them exclusively to Ring of Honor, and make bigger stars with Ring of Honor, and make Ring of Honor a more must-watch program. Because if you have someone like, I don't know, Eddie Kingston, for example, if he were to go and do exclusive Ring of Honor for a while, that the people that like Eddie Kingston may be prone to watch a Ring of Honor. It can make Ring of Honor a bigger product. So if you have someone like Chris Jericho just exclusively do Ring of Honor, he's the Ring of Honor World Champion, but so if you had him exclusively on Ring of Honor, the only way you can see Chris Jericho is watching Ring of Honor TV. Maybe it's more must see because that's the only way you can see Chris Jericho. That's kind of that's the two criteria. Are you all in for AEW? And let's keep some of these wrestlers who may not have a storyline in the main, on Dynamite or on Collision, but let's send them to Ring of Honor and let's create two distinct rosters. So that's where I went with this, and I went down the entirety of this list. It took me probably 20 to 25 minutes to go through this list, and this is what I have come up with. So this is an alphabetical order. Another caveat is this does not include anyone who is determined to be part of AEW's broadcast team. So people like Nigel and Alex Marvez and Excalibur, they're not in this running for cutting or keeping, because I don't think there's an issue with commentary at this point. The issue is with how bloated the roster is. So let's go through this roster. Number 1, Aaron Solo, and I'm gonna cut him. I don't have much else to say for that. He doesn't have any distinct quality to me that sticks out that he would fit in Ring of Honor or in AEW. Next we have Action Andretti, and I love the tag team with him and Lio Rush. So Action Andretti will stay in AEW. I would keep him. Adam Cole, obviously, I'm keeping Adam Cole. He's a big time star. That just needs, I think, a new direction on where his character's going. Hangman Adam Page is next, and I'm keeping him. I think he can be a main event guy for years to come in AEW. Next is Alex Abrahantes, and I think he's important to AEW. And this is why. He's known as the hype man. He shows up with people like Commander and Hologram and stuff, and he helps tell the match. And so in a manager capacity, I'm keeping Alex Abrahantes because I think he's a big way to be able to translate what needs to happen to some of these Spanish-speaking wrestlers that may not have great communication skills with English, Alex Abrahantes is a very important piece to make sure the match goes as planned. So I'll keep him because there's going to be wrestlers that we need to be able to use that ability with. Alex Reynolds, for the most part, you'll see this with me, and I'll give this kind of away pretty early. The Dark Order has run its course. And it was attractive in the beginning for AEW, but now it's just kind of there. They haven't done anything with it to revamp it. And so I'm cutting Alex Reynolds. And so, yeah, I just don't see anything mind-bogglingly, where I can fit him in a story unless that we wanted to revamp the Dark Order, but every time they've tried to do it, it's kind of gone flat pretty quickly. So, with a roster this size, Alex Reynolds has to go. Next is Angelico, and they cut his teammate a while ago. They let him go, and Angelico is still here. I'm not a big fan of the whole Spanish Announce Project thing. So yeah, I'd cut Angelico as well. We go into Angelo Parker. He's been on paternity leave for quite a while. He's coming back this week. And I think his in-ring work is great. They'll be able to work him in with Daddy Magic again and Danny Garcia. And so maybe they try for the Trios belt or maybe Angelo Parker and Daddy Magic, Matt Menard, they go for tag team gold. I think we keep Angelo Parker. Anthony Bowens, I'm keeping. I think he has really good potential. Now that he's away from the Acclaimed, I think he has really good opportunities to be a singles wrestler and to show us what he's willing to do. He seems to be a major storyline in AEW at this point with the breakup of the Acclaimed. So I'll give him an opportunity to be the singles wrestler. And if it doesn't work, then maybe we cut him. If not, then we move him to ROH. But at this point, we'll keep him in AEW. Anthony Ogogo, same thing as Aaron Solo. He has had pretty much they've tried several different things with him, packaging him with different stables. I think the last time we've seen him, he was with Shane Taylor Promotions. But there's just nothing special to me about Ogogo. He had one major thing with Cody Rhodes before Cody Rhodes left. I don't see anything super, different with Ogogo that we couldn't find in another wrestler. So, and that reason I'm cutting Anthony Ogogo. Next on the list is A.R. Fox. And I like A.R. Fox. He's a vet in the game. He can be used to help get some of the younger people over. And for that reason, I'm keeping A.R. Fox. And this is the first wrestler I'm doing this. I'm moving A.R. Fox exclusively to Ring of Honor. If I was Tony Khan, Ring of Honor would be a place that your inexperienced wrestlers or wrestlers that are coming back from injury or coming back from time off can spend some time to get the dirt and dust and all of that, the ring rust, and get back into motion to build a character. Use it literally as your developmental. Use it like NXT was years ago before they decided to flip it to be a third brand instead of a developmental brand. Use Ring of Honor as your developmental. And A.R. Fox can be a guy that he doesn't need really any developmental work, but he can be the guy who helps develop and build the next upcoming stars. The idea for me would be that people from Ring of Honor eventually get called up to AEW, and then maybe there's some people that get called down to Ring of Honor, or you bring in other people through the Ring of Honor system. Instead of jumping them immediately to AEW, again, make Ring of Honor something that is much see. If someone like, I don't know, for example, if Megan Bayne came through Ring of Honor before making her debut in AEW, Ring of Honor would have been much CTV, in my opinion. for that period of time. And so AR Fox goes down, helps reach some of these newer talents, get them over, and build them into being wrestlers that people know and want to watch. Next on the list is Arya Daivari with the Premier Athletes. And kind of like the Dark Order, the Premier Athletes are boring to me at this point, so I'm cutting Arya Daivari. Austin Gunn, I'm keeping. He's awesome. I like the Gunn Club. I like the Bang Bang Gang. I like them as a trio. I like them as tag teams. I like them as a four-person team. So Austin Gunn, I'm keeping. Bandito, I will keep. And I would say he was making his debut into Ring of Honor before he got a concussion. So I would be comfortable with Bandito going into doing exclusively Ring of Honor for some time, build his character up, and then move him into the main AEW roster. But let him spend a period of time in Ring of Honor, again, once he gets cleared from this now new injury that he got at his when he returned to meet Chris Jericho face to face. Big Bill, I would keep Big Bill, and again, he would be one of those wrestlers that you put on Ring of Honor, and it might make a Ring of Honor more must-watch television. You got you got Big Bill there. You got the Jericho the Learning Tree, with you in Ring of Honor, and Big Bill, I think, would fit in. He would have a bigger piece of the action in Ring of Honor than he would in AEW. Billy Gunn. Now that the Acclaimed is over, or once the story reaches its ending, because it's almost there, what is the purpose of Billy Gunn? And so for that reason, I'm cutting Billy Gunn. And maybe, let's not use the word cut, but I'd let Billy Gunn's contract expire, and then I'm just letting him walk out the door. Because now that the Acclaimed is over, and unless the Gunns come back to wrestle with their father, I don't see there as being a way, at least from a talent perspective, that Billy Gunn enhances the in-ring product or what we see on TV. If he wants to work behind the scenes, if he wants to be a talent agent, if he wants to, be a trainer, then cool, we can leave Billy Gunn in AEW in that aspect. But as an in-ring performer, I'm cutting Billy Gunn. Next we have Bishop Khan. And I really like Bishop Khan. I think they don't use the Gates of Agony well. And so for that reason, I'm keeping Bishop Khan, and I'm moving him to Ring of Honor to wreak havoc in Ring of Honor. Bobby Lashley will keep. We're going to run through some of these here. Brandon Cutler will cut. Brian Cage and Brody King we will keep. They have Bryan Danielson on this list, but he's supposedly retired, so I'm not going to say in any way, shape, or form if I would keep or cut him, because he's supposedly retired. So Bryan Danielson, I guess he's on the roster still, but he's retired in my book, so we'll leave him as retired. Brian Keith, same thing as Big Bill. We would keep him, but move him to ROH with the Learning Tree. Buddy Matthews, it seems like he's getting ready to get maybe a singles push or a really big tag team push with Brody King. I'm keeping Brody King, so I'll keep Buddy Matthews. And then we got Cash Wheeler, one half of FTR. We'll keep him as well. Next, we got the Ring of Honor World Champion, Chris Jericho. And I'll keep Chris Jericho and again move him full time into Ring of Honor. Next, we got Christian Cage. And this is a tough one for me because at this point, Christian Cage, I think he can still go in the ring. He's with the Patriarchy. I think we got to finish that Patriarchy story. But what else is there for Christian Cage to do, except maybe win the world title. I think maybe we give him the world title scene a push, let this patriarchy story kind of play out, and then maybe at the end of that patriarchy story, Christian Cage departs from AEW on good terms. We let his contract run out. I don't think I would re-sign Christian Cage to an extension, but I wouldn't cut him. I would keep him. I would use him. He seems like he knows what he wants, and that is to build new stars to help the younger guys. He's helping Nick Wayne, I'm sorry, and he was on the motion to help. He's working with Hook and trying to put Hook over, and so he wants to help some of these younger guys. And so Christian Cage, I would finish his story with the patriarchy and then maybe move him into a behind the scenes kind of talent scout or agent kind of role, or a trainer, and take him out of the in-ring work. Chuck Taylor's on the roster page. There's a lot of rumors that he may never wrestle again. I would cut Chuck Taylor if anyway. I don't think, now that this whole Orange Cassidy stuff is kind of over, the best friends are kind of over, unless they somehow find a way to bring them back. I think Chuck Taylor's aura was he was part of the best friends. Now that that's gone, it doesn't really serve. He doesn't serve any purpose. He probably could find better success in the indie scene or with another company. I would cut Chuck Taylor. Keeping Claudio Castagnoli. This roster is large, guys, so I'm sorry if this is kind of boring you. Going through this roster, quick aside, it surprised me how many people AEW had under contract, because we don't see a majority of these wrestlers on this list on a weekly basis. And so this is why I think we need to kind of gut it, cut the fat, and figure out what we're going to do with some of these wrestlers. Keep Claudio Castagnoli, as I said. Next up is Colt Cabana. And I'm cutting Colt Cabana. Not because CM Punk told me so. Fuck CM Punk. But because Colt Cabana hasn't done anything in quite a while. We haven't seen him in the ring for quite some time. And I just kind of think he would get lost with me moving a lot of these people into ROH. He would get lost lost there in ROH. He would get lost in AEW. Maybe this is one of those things where we move him out of a role of a wrestler and move him to a backstage role. I think Colt Cabana has a lot to bring to wrestling, but as a wrestler for AEW, I would take him out of that role. Cut him, maybe let the contract expire and then re-sign him as a backstage talent agent or whatever. Colton Gunn, I'm keeping his brother, so I'll keep him. Again, like I said, I like the Bang Bang Gang. I like the Guns as a tag team. I think once they come back from injury, they can really be a big piece of the tag team scene. We got the Rated R superstar Cope. I'm keeping him for the end of his contract. I don't know if I would extend him again. A lot of these wrestlers are up in age, and so once this contract ends, it'll be one of those things of, are they able to produce in the ring like they need to? And so I'll keep Cope for the moment, but I don't know if I would re-sign him after his contract is done. Danhausen can leave. I don't really care much about Danhausen. He can, he's one of those characters where his character best suits the indie scene. It doesn't suit the TV product, and so I think he gets lost in the motions. And we cut Danhausen. Daniel Garcia we're keeping. Dante Martin we'll keep. Darby Allin we'll keep. Darius Martin we'll keep. Dax Harwood we'll keep. Then we get to Dralistico, and he's part of La Facción and Gobernable. And I'm keeping him, but I'm moving Dralistico to ROH. I think we could move all of LFI, and we'll get to them as the list goes on. We'll move all of LFI at some point to Ring of Honor, and LFI can really show themselves to be a really good stable in Ring of Honor, and again, make Ring of Honor must-see TV. Dustin Rhodes. I'm letting his contract expire, and I'm telling him to kick the road. I think he's done a lot for AEW. He's helping a lot of these young guys get over, but now he's Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion and Ring of Honor 6-Man Champion. Like, he's holding belts. He's up in age. I think we let him retire in AEW and then set him free. I don't know how much more he does to benefit AEW big picture. And so with that being said, Dustin Rhodes, in my book, not necessarily cutting him, but letting his contract run out and then just not re-signing him. We got Dutch, we're keeping. I like the Righteous. And I don't like them just on Ring of Honor. I think they can be an AEW tag team. And so the Righteous, I guess, would be the first quote-unquote call-up to the main AEW scene. They've been on AEW occasionally, but they're a majority Ring of Honor team. I'd move Dutch, and in the future we'll get to him, his teammate of the Righteous, up to the main AEW roster. Eddie Kingston, I'm keeping him, but moving him to Ring of Honor, just like AR Fox. He could be one of those guys to help build the next generation of superstars. While, I don't want to... Eddie Kingston is a big part of AEW's history, so I don't want to cut him because he suffered that big injury. Keeping him in Ring of Honor, help him grow those the next group of talent, and then that allows him to go to New Japan and go to Triple or CMLL and wrestle and do that kind of stuff, that kind of wrestling that he's adored for. So Eddie Kingston, I'm keeping under contract, but in Ring of Honor. Evil Uno, same thing as Alex Reynolds. Dark Order's kind of run stale on me. So I'm cutting Evil Uno, at least from the talent side. Now, if they want to keep Evil Uno to do like the video game podcast and videos and stuff on the social media side, I think Evil Uno fits in better there than in the ring for AEW. Griff Garrison, he could go tag team partner with his former tag team partner in NXT for all I care for. He's kind of boring. They kind of relegated him to Ring of Honor, and he hasn't really done anything there to kind of stand out. So Griff Garrison can go. I thought at one point he would be one of the future guys in AEW, but he just hasn't been able to figure out the character. I think he's kind of stale. He's kind of like if you created a wrestler on 2K, WWE 2K, Griff Garrison would be like the generic creator wrestler. Hologram, I'm keeping. Hook, I'm keeping. Isaiah Cassidy, I'm keeping. Jack Perry, I'm keeping. Jay Lethal, I'm keeping. But moving to Ring of Honor, he can be another legend that helps build the next star generation, but has the name recognition and the Ring of Honor history to keep going in Ring of Honor. Jay White, keeping. Jeff Jarrett, he re-signed with AEW after this 1-year contract or whatever. I wouldn't sign him again. He's kind of over the hill, in my opinion. And so I would let Jeff Jarrett's contract run out, and that's it. John Silver, I would take him out of the Dark Order, make him his own thing. I think by himself he can be very interesting, very entertaining, and I would keep John Silver as a singles wrestler in some capacity. I think we could figure out something for John Silver. Johnny TV, we're cutting. I'm not. He had that one feud in Ring of Honor with Dalton Castle, and it was kind of entertaining. But outside of that, he hasn't done anything in his time with ROH and AEW to like think I could put him in a big storyline and have it go well. John Moxley will keep. Josh Woods, we're cutting. I'm not a big fan of Josh Woods. Juice Robinson, we're keeping. Katsuyori Shibata will keep. Kazuchika Okada will keep. Keith Lee, I don't know if we'll ever see him wrestle in AEW again, but if not, we're cutting him. He came in with this big pop and just has kind of flopped, to be completely honest. And I like Keith Lee. He was one of my favorites when he was in NXT, but that was his best run on like the TV circuit. his time in AEW has kind of been, outside of his tag team championship ring with Swerve, which I think Swerve ultimately got the bigger end of the stick on that push. But yeah, Keith Lee, they kind of fucked up his booking a little bit, and I don't know if you can bring him back and have anybody really care that he's there. So I'm cutting Keith Lee. Obviously keeping Kenny Omega. Killswitch is on this list, but I'm not going to touch Killswitch because of his injury. So we'll put him on what I would say the long-term injury reserve list. If he's able to wrestle again, I'd like to see him in AEW again. If not, I don't want to cut him. I don't want to say I'd let him go, but hopefully he gets better and is able to recover from the lung problems that he has had, and good luck for Killswitch. Kip Sabian, this might get me in trouble with some AEW fans, but I don't find Kip Sabian super entertaining. I would cut Kip Sabian. I think he gets lost in the motion, and even if you moved him to Ring of Honor, there would be other wrestlers that we would move into that place that would outshine him. I think he has a good character. It's just it's not built again. Kind of like Danhausen, it's not built for TV. I think he could dominate in the indies, or I think he could be really good in NXT. If you wanted to go to NXT, I think Kip Sabian would be a really good wrestler to join the WWE system, where they can build a character and fit a mold around him. Commander we're keeping. Konosuke Takeshita we're keeping. Kind of same thing with Killswitch, with Kota Ibushi. I don't know when he's able to wrestle, so we'll put him on the long-term injured reserve list as well. There's a lot of wrestlers, guys. we're about halfway done with the men's division here. Kyle Fletcher will keep. Kyle O'Reilly will keep. Lance Archer will keep. Big Shotty Lee Johnson's going to Ring of Honor, as is Lee Moriarty, which he's the ROH Pure Champion with Shane Taylor Promotions. We'll move all of Shane Taylor Promotions into Ring of Honor exclusively. Leo Rush will keep with his tag team partner Action Andretti. I think they can be a really good heel tag team. Luther we're keeping in a manager role. Malachi Black. There's been rumors for years now that he's about done. He's 1 foot out the door with AEW. He always shows up and disproves those rumors. At this point, I think he's done. I don't think he's 100% committed to AEW. And again, that's one of the things that I care about when I'm building this roster, is I want guys that are willing to go 100% and go all in with AEW. And so for that reason, Malachi Black, I'm going to just let his contract expire and he can go back to WWE and go on and fight for the Speed Championship on Wednesdays for 3-minute matches. I think Malachi Black, yes, AEW has fucked up his booking in multiple ways, but I think the idea that he would get booked anywhere else, better anywhere else, is just asinine. Malachi Black is kind of up in age. He's not the guy that he used to be in the ring. He's not really good, in my opinion, on the mic. He doesn't really fit the TV schedule, and there's maybe a reason why he never got a push in WWE in the first place. And he hasn't got pushed in AEW, except of maybe a short trios title reign or whatever, or a tag team reign. And so I just let Malachi Black walk. Mark Briscoe, I'm moving back into Ring of Honor exclusively. Mark Davis, I'll keep. Smart Mark Sterling, I don't even like him as a manager. He kind of ruined Jade Cargill for me. The Premier Athletes kind of suck. Everything he kind of touches is kind of corny. I'd cut Mark Sterling. Mark Quinn will keep. Matt Menard will keep. Matt Sydal we're going to cut. Matt Taven we're going to keep, but move him to the Ring of Honor Tag Team division. Matt Jackson will keep. Max Caster, again, kind of with Bowens, but kind of with a shorter leash with Caster, because Caster to me is not as good in the ring. He's just a mouthpiece. Can he? I think they have something interesting in storyline brewing. I'd keep Max Caster for the short term, but long term, we'll have to see if the crowd can kind of vibe with Max Caster on his own. Maybe we'll keep him. Maybe we'll let his contract go out. I don't know. Max Caster is one of those stories where it's like he was so loved in the Acclaimed, but now that the Acclaimed are over, can he separate himself from the rest of the field? We're cutting Michael Nakazawa. Mike Bennett will bring to Ring of Honor with his teammate Taven. Miro, we haven't seen him in forever. He seems discontent to agree with any storyline that Tony Khan tries to present with him, so I'd cut Miro. MJF will keep. MVP will keep in a manager role. Do not want to see him back in a wrestling ring as a wrestler again, but in a managerial role, we're good with MVP. Nick Jackson will keep. We're cutting Nick Komoroto, keeping Nick Wayne, keeping Orange Cassidy, cutting Ortiz. I think Ortiz, I don't know. He's outside of his partner Santana, and he's just kind of boring to me. He doesn't have any main. I don't know. We haven't seen him enough for him to really stick out. So I'd cut Ortiz, keeping Pac, cutting Paul White. Again, he's not part of the broadcast team here. This is the men's roster. And Paul White, I don't think, can wrestle. I really don't think he could be a good wrestler at this point in his career. I don't think he could be a manager at this point of his career. I think Paul White kind of served his time in AEW, and thank you for your time. You can go back to WWE and get into the Hall of Fame or something. I don't know. But Paul White, I'd cut. Peter Avalon, I like Peter Avalon. And because we're kind of moving pieces around, I think we move Peter Avalon to Ring of Honor. We now have a roster set up to where he can do something with his talent. We'll get rid of some of the excess dead weight that Ring of Honor uses in squash matches, and we'll let Peter Avalon work. I think he can create an interesting character. He's like a mixture of sports entertainment and pro wrestling. He's actually a pretty good wrestler. So I'd keep Peter Avalon, keeping Powerhouse Hobbs. Preston Vance will keep, but the rest of LFI, we'll move him to Ring of Honor. Prince Nana will keep in a manager role. Ray Fenix, I'm about tired of this man. I'm about tired with this man. I'm cutting him today. I'd let him out of his contract, and I'll let him go straight to WWE without any 90-day hold, because this man might be the most annoying wrestler in AEW. He fabricated a story that turned out to maybe not be even true about medical bills and all of this stuff, and no one else has complained about AEW's medical except CM Punk, and again, fuck CM Punk. The people that are disgruntled with Tony Khan ultimately blame the medical staff, but everybody else seems to be okay with it. Ray Phoenix has kind of painted himself as hard to work with, and so yeah, I'm cutting him out. He has one foot out the door anyway. He's wanting to negotiate with WWE while still under contract with AEW. He has one foot out the door. I'd kick the other foot out the door and send him back. And same thing with the next guy, Ricky Starks, because he's boring. Ricky Starks to me was never really good in the ring, never really good on the mic. He tried too hard to be like The Rock, and he failed. And the most memorable thing to me about Ricky Starks was when Adam Copeland absolutely burned him on the mic in a promo battle. And so there's nothing memorable to me. I can't think of any Ricky Starks match that I was like, wow, this was match of the year contender, or this was a 5-star match. I don't know. Ricky Starks, I think he believes he's better than he actually is. And he can go packing as well. Ricochet we're keeping. Roddy Strong we're keeping. Roosh, again, keeping but moving to Ring of Honor. Sammy Guevara will move to Ring of Honor. We're keeping Samoa Joe. We're cutting Satnam Singh. We're cutting Scorpio Sky. We're cutting Serpentico. Sean Dean is kept, but like all of the rest of Shane Taylor promotions, he'll go to Ring of Honor to join Carly Bravo and Lee Moriarty, Shane Taylor, Trish Adora. We'll keep Shelton Benjamin. Sean J. Dutt, we're cutting from a talent perspective, but I like him as a producer and a talent agent, so we'll keep him there. Stokely Hathaway, we'll keep him in a managerial role. We'll keep Swerve. We'll keep the Beast Mortos, but I think he would benefit from going to Ring of Honor. I think he's now like a kind of part of La Facción Ingobernables. I don't know. We'll cut the Blade. We'll cut the Butcher. We'll keep Toa Leona. Cutting Tony Nese. This one might get me in trouble as well, but we're cutting Trent Beretta because I don't think Trent Beretta is all that great as a singles wrestler. He needs to be part of the Best Friends to have any aura. This says he's part of the Don Callis family, but I forgot that even existed. I'm cutting Trent Beretta. We're keeping Vincent as part of the Righteous. Wardlow, we're cutting. He's had several opportunities again to get himself over. Has flopped in every opportunity. Not great on the mic. He has a very small move set. I think he fits WWE's system probably better than AEW's. So it'll be a big loss, but I'm cutting Wardlow. We'll keep Wheeler Yuta. And the last man on the men's roster, we're keeping Will Ospreay. That's the men's roster. And so I think, again, we've separated enough people to create a good roster for the men in Ring of Honor, a good roster for the men in AEW, and I hope to do the same with the women's roster. But before I get to the women's roster, I again want to take a minute and tell y'all to go to beyondthejunkyard.com and support the podcast by purchasing some t-shirts and sweatshirts and coffee mugs and dog tags, all of the merchandise on the website. Go to beyondthejunkyard.com as well as junkyardmediagroup.com. There you can join our Discord community and like all of our Facebook and Twitter pages and all of that stuff. Go to those websites and help support the podcast. Help, like, comment, share, and all of this stuff. Follow us on YouTube. Give us a 5-star review if you're listening to this on an audio platform, and we appreciate you for this, for supporting the podcast in any way possible. Let's get to the women's roster. We're starting with Abaddon, and I've not been a fan of Abaddon from the beginning. I'm cutting Abaddon. Next is Anna Jay, and I'm keeping her. Next is Athena. I'm making her exclusively Ring of Honor. I don't know why she's on the AEW roster page. We've rarely seen her in AEW. She is a Ring of Honor wrestler, and we'll keep her there. Britt Baker, to the surprise of maybe some, I'm cutting Britt Baker. She is a toxin in the women's locker room. She has had issues with, if you remember back, Big Swole, and everybody took Britt Baker's side on that side of the aisle. Big Swole got cut from the company, and it seems like Britt Baker hasn't changed. It seems like she's kind of the locker room bully in the women's roster, and I don't have time for that. If I'm Tony Khan, I'm letting Britt Baker leave. She seems like she wants to be the main talent, and there's so many other wrestlers that can take her place in this women's division if we were able to use the women properly. So yes, I'm cutting Britt Baker because she is a toxin in the locker room. I want a locker room that's drama free. That's why I was happy when CM Punk left, because he was a toxin to the locker room, and I'd be letting Britt Baker go for the same reason. Deonna Purrazzo, I'm moving to Ring of Honor, but I'm keeping her. I think she could be a dominant figure in Ring of Honor, and the AEW scene with the women that we have there, she just there's just so many and so little time to get all of these women over. I think we push her into Ring of Honor, and she could have a bigger way to tell her story in Ring of Honor. Diamante will cut. Emi Sakura we're cutting. Harley Cameron, she's entertaining as hell. I'm keeping her. Hikaru Shida, keeping her. But kind of like Deonna Purrazzo, Hikaru Shida kind of has, because of like maybe an injury or something, has kind of lost her spot in the top of the card in AEW. So I'd move her to Ring of Honor and help her build that Ring of Honor women's division to be more than just Athena and Billy Starks. Like, imagine Athena and Billy Starks and Deonna Purrazzo and Hikaru Shida, and I have a couple others that we would move into Ring of Honor as well, that I think could build that Ring of Honor women's division to be deeper than it is now. Jamie Hayter will keep. Julia Hart will keep. Camille, she's still on the roster page. There's rumors that she may be done with AEW. If she isn't done with AEW, I'd move her to Ring of Honor. I think she could dominate that division and maybe be the one to take the women's championship off of Athena. Karen Jarrett, just like Jeff Jarrett, she's not really needed at this point. I'd cut her. Kiera Hogan, I'm keeping, but moving to Ring of Honor. Chris Statlander will keep. Layla Gray, I'm moving to Ring of Honor. Layla Hirsch, I'll keep in Ring of Honor. I'm cutting Madison Rayne. I'm cutting Madison Rayne from a talent perspective, but from I would keep her as a trainer. She was really good at training the women in TNA when she was there, and I think she'd be a good trainer for some of these young women in AEW. So I'd cut her from a talent perspective, but keep her as a trainer. Keeping Mariah May. Marina Shafir we have to keep. She is a big piece of the Death Rider story. If she hadn't moved into this role where they're actually giving her something interesting to do, I probably would have cut her because she just wasn't being used for anything important. But now she is, so I'll keep her. Mercedes Martinez, I'm cutting. Mercedes Moné will keep. Mother Wayne is only as useful as the patriarchy story goes. So once the patriarchy story ends, she's gone. Nyla Rose, I'm sending her to Ring of Honor. Again, you have the first ever, or one of the first ever AEW champions, can make the women's division seem bigger than it is and help that women's division grow. Penelope Ford, I like Penelope Ford, but I don't know if I would use her as a valet because she's been out of the ring for a while, and she's started to come back. She'd either be in a valet position or a manager position, or she would go to the Ring of Honor division. I'm not quite sure where I would put Penelope Ford, but she's too damn talented and quite honestly too damn beautiful to keep off of AEW or Ring of Honor television. Queen Aminata, I'm keeping in AEW, taking her out of Ring of Honor and onto onto AEW television. Rebel is still on the roster; she'd be gone. Red Velvet, I'm keeping in Ring of Honor. Riho, I'm keeping her. This one was hard because she kind of was like got this big push at the beginning and then went back to Japan and has been kind of sporadic ever since, but I think we can keep Riho on the roster. She's young. She's talented. I'm entertained when she comes out. So yeah, Riho stays in the roster. Ruby Soho, I'm moving to Ring of Honor. Saraya, I would keep her again in either like a valet position or maybe she can even wrestle on the Ring of Honor roster. Cutting Serena Deeb. Keeping Sky Blue. Moving Ty Mello into Ring of Honor. This might hurt some people's feelings, but Taya Valkyrie I'd cut. Thunder Rosa we're keeping. Toni Storm we're keeping. Willow Nightingale we're keeping. And the last person on the women's roster, Yuka Sakazaki, I'm sending her to Ring of Honor. Whew. This is probably going to bore some of y'all. This is one of these podcasts that it's probably better if I had done it with the visuals, but I'm doing this audio only going through it, so it's the roster's large. Like, I think that's the biggest thing I gained out of this is there's just so many people on the roster, and I think I went through the roster and I cut the fat. I built two distinct rosters between Ring of Honor and AEW that are evenly balanced and that can produce really good wrestling that makes people want to watch Dynamite, makes people want to watch Ring of Honor, and then makes people want to watch Collision on Saturday. Let me know what you think about the people that I cut or the people that I kept. who would you change? What would you do if you were in AEW? Again, check out the description or the notes, the show notes. Check out the links in the description there. Support the podcast with our affiliate products. W.GG. Just fill up your cart, put in the code Beyond the Yard, and get 10% off there. The other ones, you just use the description link and navigate it, and because you're using our link, you will get you would help support us that way. What do you think about AEW? Is the roster too big? Is this roster change even needed? Let me know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. But until tomorrow night, when me and Cody Marinara are back on the live stream on the YouTube channel of the Junkyard Media Group, I will see you then. I'm Junkyard James, and I'm out.